Last week, Arcane Studios Austin released Prey, and by most accounts, it's a really solid System Shock style game in space where you can turn into a coffee cup. However, one review in particular is what this episode is going to be focused on. That, of course, is the 4.0 bad PC review that IGN's Dan Stapleton gave to Prey, where he led off his review with this.
Everything came to a screeching halt when, after 34 hours played, all my saves suddenly became corrupted. Destroying 5 hours of progress, I grudgingly went back to the most recent working save, but soon ran into a different but equally awful problem. Every time I tried to leave the cargo bay and load a new zone, Prey crashed to the desktop. I contacted the developers for help, and Arcane provided me with a completely new save file around the same spot, but after a few hours of play, that save also became corrupted and crash prone. That game-ending tragedy means I have to strongly advise against playing Prey on PC. Bethesda says they're looking for a fix by the end of the week, but there's no guarantees.
This bug was the reason Stapleton gave the game a 4, and while his review was updated just a day later to reflect the patch that Arcane put out, it was certainly the talk of the video game community at large for the next few days. Now, on one hand, I see where Stapleton is coming from. The game didn't work, therefore why should it be given a good score? If I was a consumer and my save was corrupted while playing a game, especially if it kept happening when I was deep in as Stapleton says he was, it would ruin the game for me. From that perspective, I completely understand Stapleton's gripe with the game, but if you wanted to open that can of worms, honestly, by IGN's own review policy, the score should have been lower. On IGN's review scale, they say a 4 constitutes a game that is quote-unquote bad, and quote-unquote
made us wish we never played them at all. Even if there's a good idea or two in there somewhere, they're buried underneath so many bad ones and poor execution that we simply cannot recommend you waste your time on it.
While that's a scathing description to see for any game, the description they give us for a game that is constituted as a 0 is much worse.
Games that score this low are rare because it's reserved for those that simply don't work.
Now, by IGN's own standards, that description seems to fit Stapleton's problems with Prey much more than the 4 that he gave it. While I understand the guidelines can be flexible to a certain extent, this discrepancy in my opinion is where the hypocrisy of the review comes into play, and why review scores in today's day and age are really a thing of the past. On that hypocrisy aspect, while Prey might and probably deserve the score that it received, it's far from the first game to be completely broken on launch. From Assassin's Creed Unity, Battlefield 4, Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy, Telltale's Tales from the Borderlands, Telltale's The Walking Dead series, Telltale's Game of Thrones. Jesus fucking Christ. Telltale, fix your fucking engine. What is wrong with you? Why is this still a thing? Why are saves still being eaten? I don't understand it. Fix your shit. I don't get it. But the point remains the same. All of these games have run into major, if not game-breaking bugs for numerous players and never saw the hammer brought down on them the same way that it was with Bethesda's published Prey. Now, why is this? Is it because IGN is suddenly going to take this years-old problem with games shipping broken and finally say enough is enough? Or does it have more to do with Bethesda's recently implemented review policy that doesn't give publications early access to games before their review and they're slapping them on the hand for it? I'm not trying to paint anything with the wrong brush, but my guess is that it has more to do with the latter than a noble quest to punish naughty publishers and developers who ship their games out like broken messes. And to be fair, I agree with the point that Bethesda's review policy is completely draconian and leads to a number of problems that I've already discussed on a previous episode. Shameless plug here. But what I don't agree with is holding certain publishers' games to a higher standard based on their policies. The perfect experiment I could do to put this hypothesis to the test is to look at a Bethesda game filled with bugs that came out before their review policy was put into place. However, this game would have to be reviewed by the same person and score high enough that I could really drive home my point. There's no way something like that exists. No way IGN would let that happen. It would have to fit all these criteria so perfectly that it would prove all my points, so... Oh, yeah. No, that works. Now, none of this means that I think Dan Stapleton is a bad dude or that IGN is a terrible company. They are far from the only ones who do this. See? While I think he has some dreadful opinions related to Bloodborne, he's just a dude with opinions that I might not agree with, but he's still hardworking and probably gets a lot of shit he doesn't deserve. And a lot of this shit probably stems from one thing in particular: review scores. And that's where my biggest gripe with this whole mess comes from. Sure, it's trendy right now to hate review scores. I could have a holier-than-thou attitude and point to sites like Kotaku and Eurogamer for not issuing them, but I'm not here to dismiss their importance. For the vast majority of people, review scores convey a quick, short message that in a lot of cases is valuable to them. While I'm not saying people shouldn't read a full review, you kind of have to meet your audience halfway and understand that not all of them are going to spend their time reading a 900-word review, even if that seems short. Maybe they don't want mechanical or plot details spoiled for them. Maybe they want to have an open mind when it comes to certain aspects or details of a game. Or, let's be honest, most likely, maybe they don't want to spend 10 minutes reading your review. Fuck, I'm sure somebody who clicked on this video has already clicked off right now and never got to hear me talk about them. But at the end of the day, review scores are reductive. Metacritic is nice because it gives us a glimpse into what the zeitgeist surrounding a game is at a glance, but reducing games down to numbers, especially when you consider the way things are weighed on aggregate sites, plays into this notion that art is something that can be easily quantified as objective, in a this is definitively better than that sort of way, which in turn is what I believe leads to things like rampant fanboyism and grossness that you see on message boards and comment sections across the internet. Remember in 2010 when Obsidian lost a bonus on Fallout New Vegas because their Metacritic score wasn't high enough? That's fucking stupid. Sure, a company should want its developers to make a good game, but good isn't something that can be quantified with a fucking number. Reviews aren't objective facts, and numbers aren't the thing you should base a person's livelihood on. Do I have a solution? No. I think little pros and cons lists are nice and fill a similar role, but they do fall into the same pitfalls as scores at a certain point. There's no perfect answer, and this Prey review sure as hell isn't perfect, but maybe this sparks a conversation about the nature of review scores in general and could lead to a real change going forward. But who knows? Conversations are dumb because everyone is dumb, and everybody who disagrees with me is dumb. This fat fucking idiot.